Can't hear any of you. There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Matt Lintz.
Hey guys, happy to be here. It's my first time here. It's great. It's
Very
very cold.
It was your first time in Ireland, and you have pretty much gotten the Irish weather experience.
Yes, I have.
All 4 seasons in one day.
Yes,
That is very traditionally Irish, right?
Went from rain to no rain to snow to who knows what. I was in summer weather over where I'm from, so it was very interesting going from being at a pool with the sun to snow and in a matter of 20 hours or whatever it was.
Well, at least hopefully you packed a lot of layers because you.
I did. I almost forgot. So I was like gonna pack like how I would if I was going somewhere like in the States where it's kind of warm right now. And then I looked at the weather and I was like, no, can't do that. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, March. It is like that Simpsons joke of lousy smart weather.
Yeah, yeah.
But so this isn't your first convention. You've actually been doing quite a few over the last few years. Like, what is it about conventions that you enjoy so much?
I think it's just the fans, the people, like just hanging out, going to new places, meeting new people, and you know, a lot of people have that, you know, excitement of shows and stuff like that, and it's always so fun to meet those people and hang around people that feel the same way as me.
Yeah, because your career, you were very young when you started your career, and I'm going to utter a sentence that I think many people here are just going to go, oh, I feel so old, because I know when I say it, I'm going to feel very old. You were 21?
21, yes.
And one of your first roles, maybe even the first role, was it Halloween 2 in 2009?
Yes, it was. That was my very first role ever.
How old were you?
I was 5.
He was 5 in Halloween 2.
Yeah, no, I might have been older. I might have been 6 or 7. But yeah, that was a while ago.
And I was rewatching it recently, and I was kind of like, that kid actually looks a bit familiar. And then I just happened to be looking at your IMDb a couple of days later, and I went, that was him. So you were the kid in the clown costume who runs into Mike Myers.
Yes, and it was. We filmed that at like 3 a.m, and my mom was angry because I was like a little kid. It was past my bedtime, and she was also mad because it was this big scary man who was a giant. And all I remember from that though is there were people like lining the streets like to watch what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. But then I met, you know, Rob Zombie and, you know, all these other people, and it was for me it was fun because I got to, you know, dress up in a clown costume as a little kid, so that was fun. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, how much were you aware of what you were making at that time, or did they keep it very like secluded for you?
Yeah, no, I had no idea what it was. And they were all so nice to me. I barely knew it was like a horror movie. I was just there to have fun and, you know, be in a movie or whatever. Yeah.
Because with it being your first role, you were probably just so excited that, you might have been filming at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you weren't going to be able to sleep.
I think I was more excited that I was up past my bedtime. That was probably more than, you know, filming the movie. But it's been a while since I did that. Yeah.
Well, you went from one horror film to a horror series then with The Walking Dead, which, you know, again, for someone who is younger coming onto a show like that, there are some bits that you might sort of be a bit cautious of because it can be quite scary for younger people.
Yeah, no, well, I grew up on the show basically. So my sister played Sophia in seasons 1 and 2. So I was on set like day 1 of when they were filming that, and so I knew the cast. And then, funny enough, my brother got on the show in season 7, 8, and part of 9. And when they decided, spoiler alert, when they decided to do a time jump, we were we had known when they were filming the first part of season 9 that they were doing it, and we were kind of joking like, oh, they should bring me in because I'm the older brother. And funny enough, they did. Yeah, AMC approached me about it, and it kind of worked out. Now, I wasn't going to do it if Maxon didn't want me to because, you know, it's his role, and I don't want to intrude on that, but he ended up being the most supportive person. So going on to that, it was like a family, and you know, having the blessing of not only, you know, visiting those sets and becoming friends with them, but actually now working with them was a really cool thing for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it literally became a family affair.
You know, yeah, exactly. It was a family thing, and we only have a few more siblings and family members to go, and then it's you know, complete.
There's a couple of spin-offs. Maybe they'll get cast.
Yeah, you never know, right? You never know. And
with that role as well, especially because, you know, your brother was already doing it, did you want to try and like put your own twist to it?
No, I mean, it was interesting because you had to take into account it's been 6 years or 5 years, however long. So what's changed in the character, what's stayed the same. going back to rewatching season 8, which is what I did just to get a grasp on the character and who he was. He was a really young kid, so I did have a bit of leeway on how I wanted the character to be, but also I wanted to be true to Max and what he created as Henry in the previous seasons. Yeah.
So around the same time then, or at least when they were being released, you had a series which I absolutely adored, The Alienist.
Yes, yeah, I did that.
Because and then you went from the States to Hungary to film that, wasn't it?
Yes, I did. It was very jarring because I lived my whole life in the same house in Atlanta and moving
so you literally filmed on your doorstep for The Walking Dead then.
Yeah, I did. And same with Miss Marvel, which is funny enough. But yeah, going across the world for that, I was there a year, and it was just like it was scary. It was really, really scary because I was leaving all my friends, and I was just in high school. I was like a freshman in high school, and I was super excited about that. That went out the door, and moving with my mom there was very, it was scary, but also like thinking back on it, it was so fun, and the memories I made there are gonna last forever.
Did you get a chance to talk to Dakota Fanning at all? Because of course she was like so much younger when she started her career as well. So she would have been a great person to probably ask questions about because she's gone and made that jump from child star to adult star.
Yeah, no, she was great. I loved working with her. I mean, all of them. I mean, every single person on that cast was great, and it was like a free acting workshop working with them, just studying what they do and how they do it. But Dakota's a great person, and I was lucky enough to work with her.
Yeah, the scenes with Daniel Bruhl in particular always used to stand out to me because he always seems to be a great scene partner.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's true in real life.
He is so nice, and I haven't seen him in a while, but I hope I get to see him soon because I remember just watching him in between takes and like studying what he was doing, and he's one of the best actors on the planet. So yeah.
I always remember seeing him in Goodbye Lenin.
Yeah.
Such a great film. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, do. It's brilliant. But of course, there's a nice tie-in there with yourself and Daniel because would you potentially have been auditioning for another role around that time, something MCU-like?
Oh, are you talking about
the one that maybe you didn't get?
Oh no, that was actually before. If you're talking about Spider-Man,
I am talking about Spider-Man.
So
Chandler Riggs actually dubbed you in on that because he was here last year and he was just like, oh yeah, like I went for Spider-Man too. Oh no, but this guy he got much further than I did.
I was in the final 4 or 5 actors for that, which was crazy. But that was before. So I was filming a movie with Matthew McConaughey. Called The Free State of Jones, and during filming that, I auditioned for Spider-Man, but I was way too young for it. But it was the craziest thing I'd ever done. Like it was like 5 auditions with fake sides and fake characters, and then they sent another scene. It was a different thing, and then they when we got to the final group, they all flew us, or in my case, I just drove because that's where I lived. To the sound stages, and we did an actual scene with Robert Downey Jr., which was the craziest thing ever. And like, all I remember is being like in hair and makeup, and you hear this helicopter above, and people were like saying, "Oh, that's Robert Downey Jr." It was. He literally flew in a helicopter to read off camera for us. And it was funny enough because I did that, and then I went on to do some other stuff, and then 6 or 7 years later, I'm in the same soundstage filming for Marvel for a different thing. It was a really weird thing that happened, but yeah, it was great.
It was nicely serendipitous.
Yeah. It was very. It felt like everything came full circle of like, I was meant to be in Marvel.
I also just love the fact that Tony Stark himself kind of like got there in character. So like Robert Downey Jr. came in a helicopter because
he's one of the nicest people I've ever met, like in the acting business. He literally is Tony Stark. He's great.
He always seems to also look after a lot of like the younger actors that he meets.
Yeah.
So like was he like giving you guys tips when he was trying to like in between reading off camera?
The thing is it was very like tense and serious because there's like, like 6 of us and like, hey, we all want the same role. So it was like we all went in at separate times. But I remember, like, my mom and I was so nervous. But then I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to, like, who cares, right? So I got in on set, and I was meeting the producers. I met the directors, and I met the Russo brothers, and they're like, hey, Matt, like, they were super nice. They're like, do you want to go over the scenes at all? And I was like, no, I'm good. I just like I'll do it like when I when we do it. And I was talking to RDJ and I was like, hey man, like I don't even know, I don't know why I said this, but I was like, like Scarlett Johansson, I have a really big crush on her, so like if we're going through the scene, I might want to just like go off script and just like add something. And we get through the scene and like obviously I'm playing it how it is, but then he brings up like, so what do you think about Black Widow? And then we went on this whole rift of like ad-libbing. It was a fun time. Yeah.
Because like I'd say a group of young guys all vying for the same role, which is such a big role as well. Like, what was the vibe like actually in the waiting room to go in?
Well, no, I mean it was fine. I mean, I was talking. We were there hours, so I was talking to a bunch of them. There was a ton of kids, or not a ton, but like, I mean, Asa Butterfield was there. There was a ton of people there, so it was like big names. And I mean, it was tense, but also like. We have a lot of respect for each other, and like we got very far. So
I was also gonna be like, who else was there?
Yeah. I don't. Judah Lewis, Asa Butterfield, Tom, and some others, a few others, and yeah.
Well, look, as you already said, it all worked out in the end. You managed to join the MCU.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And I know Encanto will say no, but we shall talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
I've been waiting far too long to make that joke. So how did that all come about? Was it a case of they already kind of had you on file from auditioning for Spider-Man, or was it a case of there was a casting call?
It was maybe, but it was more or less auditioning. So I just come off The Alienist, and I just come off The Walking Dead, and I almost quit acting. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm gonna go to school. It's just whatever. So I knew I was gonna take an extended break, and I did. I took a year and a half off, went to school, and my first audition back was something for Marvel, and I was like, oh yeah, like of course I have to do this, and I almost didn't do it, but it was Marvel, and I didn't know what it was, but I was gonna do it, and I did the audition, and I remember getting out of it. I was like, oh, that's literally the worst audition I've ever done in my life. It was terrible. And then 5 weeks later, or whatever it was, I got a call that I was testing for it. And it was all online at this point because of COVID. And I ended up getting it, and I had to drop out of school and then went straight into pre-production, which was very jarring. It was just interesting because I remember my first day of pre-production, it was just me and Amon, who plays Miss Marvel, and it was at the same sound stages where I tested for Spider-Man. So now I'm there working, and I remember walking into one of the stages, and it's like literally two of the producers, two of the execs, the two directors, and Amon just sitting at a table in this big, it'd be like a room this size, but just think of like one like small table like in the middle. And that's what it was. And we spent weeks, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks just rehearsing and discussing and going over characters and the relationship between Bruno and Kamal. It was crazy. Then we went on to film, and that was even crazier. But yeah,
I always find that you can almost tell when a team has actually spent the time to rehearse a lot, because for your relationship, it's supposed to be your lifelong friend.
Oh yeah,
and like if you've just met a person, you can't just rock on up and do that. So I did hear that you guys actually put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, no, I mean it was the key thing, because the show is about this girl and obviously her getting powers and becoming superhero, but it's also just who she is and her friends and school and the relationship with Bruno. Like they've known each other their whole lives, as you just said. So building that relationship, what would they do? Did they have a handshake? Like, there are certain things that they would do as best friends. So we really, really worked on that, and I'm happy with how it came out.
I thought it was really sweet, actually, because you were both so big fans of like the MCU beforehand, and your characters are kind of like
well,
Amon
is the biggest fan. She's a super fan in real life, and not her character. Like she is Kamala, and I'm a huge fan. I've watched every single Marvel project. I've grown up on it, so I was a fan too, but not like her. Yeah.
How did you find it when you were promoting the series, not spoiling certain aspects?
Oh, I mean, it's horrifying. It's like you think of the horror stories that have happened in the past, and even I didn't do some interviews because I was like I can't. If I were to spoil something, it would be the worst day of my life.
You'd be getting like that text message from Kevin Feige.
Oh
You'd
yeah,
be like strike one.
Exactly. So that was always very scary. Yeah.
And for you now, looking at the how it all sort of started, because Ms. Marvel, it was like a brand new thing. And yes, okay, there were a couple of the execs that you were familiar with from the Spider-Man process, but it was a brand new thing. So was it a very different dynamic as opposed to with The Walking Dead, because they were a couple of seasons in when you joined, so it was kind of almost like a well-oiled machine. Were there any of those kinks to sort of like roll that out?
Well, the thing with it is yeah, I mean, Walking Dead was like one of the most well-oiled machines, and going into Marvel, that is a very well-oiled machine. But they were doing movies. This was the first time they were doing like a show, so it was very new and different for them, and me included. So going on that, it had the same vibe, but also it was a very new feeling of this is a new superhero that no one's seen, and also Marvel really hasn't done any TV shows. Well, back then they didn't. So it was a new take on it, yeah. You
said before that you were really proud to be part of the series because it's so important for there to be that kind of representation in the franchise as well. And are you excited to see now where they're going with it?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, no. I remember joining it and being like, I wouldn't want to be on anything else. It's so important, and you know, the representation of that and all that comes with that is so amazing, and for it to finally be, you know, in Marvel, and Marvel was like the biggest company in the world, and for, you know, I think it was very inspiring for tons of little girls and, you know, everyone, you know what I mean, and just to be a part of that and have a part in that was great.
Have you seen any Bruno cosplays yet on your convention travels?
Yeah. I remember
that must be so trippy.
I remember at the premiere there was a ton. It was so weird to see that, but I have seen some. Yeah.
Fab. Now, are you allowed to say what's next for yourself and Marvel and Bruno?
Yeah, so like regarding Marvel, they have snipers at every, you know, corner here, so I can't say much about that.
Oh yeah, I let them in earlier.
Yeah, no, they're waiting, so I can't say much about that. You know, I will say I love the character. I would love to come back as the character. I think there's a lot more story to tell. That's all I'll say about that. But other than that, nothing right now. Just chilling. You know. Taking time into myself, doing these amazing conventions, meeting you amazing people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw that you were actually doing some traveling there recently. You were in Paris.
Yeah, I took my girlfriend there. That was I'd never been there either, so I've been traveling a lot the past year and a half.
Nice. Well, now's the time to do it. You know, when you're still young and able to do it and have the time.
Exactly.
Well, look, who else has some questions for Matt? Don't be shy. We have a couple of microphones on either side here. So what we tend to do is if you line up at them, then we kind of go 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Don't be shy. He doesn't bite. It's always the way. There's always one that will kick it off, and then more people will come up. Perfect. Off you go.
I got a two-part question for you. First, what was your favorite scene to film in Ms. Marvel? And then what was your favorite scene to view as a fan?
Ooh. Favorite scene to film was the dance sequence, probably in episode, I think it's 3, because the funny story about that is we knew there was a huge dance sequence for the wedding, and at the start I heard about it. I didn't read the script or anything, so I was like, oh, like I probably won't even be in it. I'll just be off the side, but it'll be cool to like watch it. But no, I get a call from them. They're like, hey, this weekend you need to go rehearse with other people. I'm like, what do you mean rehearse? I'm like, for the dance. I'm like, oh, I'm in it. Like, oh, okay, cool. So then I go from not thinking I'm in it to I'm a part of it. That's cool. So then we go to the rehearsal. We meet the amazing choreographers for it. I'm like, oh, like I'll just sit in the back, and they come up to me specifically. I'm like, what are they? Why are they walking to me? And they're like, hey, Matt, so you're actually going to be in the center with Amon, and you're going to be, you know, one of the main dance parts of it. And I'm like, oh, well, funny enough, guys, I don't dance. So maybe we should, you know, not do this at all. But it ended up being fine. And basically, Bruno's he's a very awkward, he's just awkward in a lot of ways. And I think it played well because I'm very awkward when it comes to dancing. And it ended up being great, you know, and rehearsing. And then on the day, it was so fun. Being with all our friends, dancing, whatever. So that was probably my favorite scene to shoot. Favorite scene to view in the show. Ooh, man. There's some tough ones. Maybe the finale when she says "Embiggen" because it's such a big part of the comics. But also all the Mr. Wilson scenes were really funny with Amon and him, and I think. But no, I'm gonna go with the "Embiggen" in the finale. That's my favorite. Yep.
So do you think you've been inspired now to maybe like if Dancing with the Stars called?
Oh yeah, no, you couldn't pay me to do that, but yeah, I don't think anyone wants to see that either.
I kind of do now.
Yeah, well.
Any more questions? Come on. Is that one there? Here we go.
I know we're talking about Marvel, but why don't we jump to the enemy ship a little? And if you were to be cast in the DC, what character would you play?
I already have it. I want to be out Damian Wayne or Robin. I love those characters. I think they're so cool. And the characters in DC are so amazing, and I love Marvel too, but I can love both, okay? I love DC, I love Marvel. I think, Damian Wayne or one of the Robins would be really cool.
All right, thank you.
Well, you've timed that well because, of course, James Gunn is looking for a
Hey,
Damian
I'm ready to
Wayne.
go. Let's do it.
So hang on, we're going to go right down the middle here. There is a live stream, so go on, pitch it to James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn, come on, man. Just give me an audition, and we can make it happen.
And I love how you said there, like, I'm allowed like both. And it's like, you are. And even like James Gunn, I think, is a great example of that. He even had did you see this? He had a softball game at his wedding.
No, I did not.
Did everybody else see this? He had a softball game at his wedding, and it was Team Marvel versus Team DC.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And
yeah.
Michael Rooker played on both teams.
That's
as
funny.
you do. What is it about the character of Robin that appeals to you so much?
I don't know. I think just he's a badass, and there's not much more to it other than that. And I think the whole Batverse, Batman. I just saw Robert Pattinson's The Batman for like the third or fourth time on the flight over here. I think just that whole universe is so cool, and the villains in those movies and in comics and stuff are just really cool. I think it'd just be fun.
For Spring Edition last year, we actually had Barry Keoghan in to talk about.
Way.
And it was the weekend the film came out.
Yeah.
So then we had to sit here, and he sort of looked at me. He was like, "I can't say anything."
Yeah.
So it was like trying to like avoid any spoilers for
all
that.
of that. Exactly.
But like that, he actually really liked. He was always talking about Nightwing and things like.
Oh yeah, no.
So he's like, I got into the DC eventually in a
Yeah.
different way. But I always find myself with those characters. I always find you've got a bit more probably playful freedom with Robins and Nightwings and things like that than you would with Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? Come on. Here we go.
Yeah, just wondering. Sorry, Mike. Yeah. Just wondering, did you read much of the comics to prep for the role, or was it just kind of putting your own spin on the character?
Oh no, I read a ton. Yeah. When I booked it, the first thing I did was I went and bought like all the issues I could and read through all the stuff. And I'd never heard of the character or read the comic. I'm not a big comics person, anyways. But getting the chance to read that and read all these amazing characters, and it was very fun because I was reading and taking all these characters, and I'm like, I'm literally going to work with these people very soon, and I did. I read a ton, but there were certain things we didn't want to bring from the comics to live action, and that's what we kind of discussed in pre-production and stuff like that. But yeah, read a ton of comics.
I run the risk of having a little bit of a spoiler warning here, but of course, one of the big changes from the comics to the series was using the M word to describing her.
Yeah.
So was that a surprise to you when you were reading it?
Of course it was. Well, so we did initial filming, and it originally wasn't even in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. But when we went back for reshoots, it was pretty extensive reshoots. A lot. We did a lot again, and it was one of my last few days filming on the reshoots, and there was this scene, like it's the last scene in the show. It's like the post-credit scene, whatever. And it's like we have the car or whatever. We're talking, but then there's a line that Bruno says, and it's like there's nothing. It's just like a blank thing, and then it goes to the next line. And I'm like, hey, if I'm doing this scene, I probably need to know what that says. And they're like, oh, no, it's okay. We'll talk to you about it. We'll talk to you about it. I'm like, okay. So then we get to filming, and we're about to film, and we're like in rehearsal. And I'm like, guys, I need to know the line. If like, how am I going to do the scene if I don't know the line? And then they pull me aside, and they're like, yeah, and I don't want to spoil it, but they were like, you're going to say this. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, I see why it's not in the script right now. So we did it, and they were like, you're literally introducing said people into the MCU, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty surreal.
No pressure.
Yeah. It was very like insane. Yeah.
One thing I've always liked is how Marvel are kind of able to adapt their own properties in a way that makes sense for what they're making.
Yeah.
So I think it worked.
Yeah, I think it did too. Yeah.
Anybody else? Come on. Oh, perfect. There we go.
Yeah. Hi, I was just going to ask about that particular word and just, yeah, so like, were you tempted to say, what's going on? What does any of that mean? Where is it going? You know what I mean? With that, or were Marvel just like, well, just say the line?
Oh
and
yeah, no, I
that's
mean,
it?
of course. I mean, yeah, I wanted to know what they're gonna do with it. They don't even tell me stuff about my show, you know, and like they're always, you know, Kevin Feige has a plan, and he's gonna stick to that plan and not tell anyone. So I think that's the beauty of it all, because even on our show, we didn't know what was going on half the time, but it always leads to a good surprise. So I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Did they ever keep any of the scripts from you guys until like the day before filming, or were you given everything?
It was more or less, there was like 50 passcodes you had to get through. They sent us the scripts, but it was just very hard to view the scripts.
Nice. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you were saying earlier that you didn't even know what you were auditioning for when you went in at first.
Yeah, no, yeah. In the audition, they don't tell you anything. Yeah.
What did you think it might be?
I had no idea. And now that you say that, I'm trying to think out what I thought it was, and I don't remember. But I just knew it was. It said Marvel, but it didn't say the. It didn't say. It was code names, fake scripts, fake characters. I was like, who? I didn't know who it was. Yeah.
You're like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there was someone standing there, and then they've sat down there. Go on. See, it's the blue hair. You stand out.
Is there any actor that you haven't already played with that you want to play with in the future?
Oh, there's too many, man. There's too many. I mean, Cillian Murphy's up there from Peaky Blinders. He's brilliant.
Nice homegrown hero.
But I mean, if you're going like Marvel, God, I don't know. Because I don't have favorites in anything. Like, I don't have a favorite color. I don't have a favorite food. I love a vast amount. So I think working with you know any of these actors would be a blessing. But you know, Cillian Murphy's probably up there. But yeah.
Cillian Murphy is a great shout. Yeah. Although, would you go as far as Dave Bautista and get a tattoo of him on your leg?
Oh, exactly. You're right. Yeah, you know, Dave. God,
Hang on, has everybody seen that? I love the story of him saying how he didn't want it to look too much like him, and then the minute he posts it, everybody goes, "So you've got a tattoo of Cillian Murphy on your leg?" And he goes, "I guess I do." Anybody else? Oh, here we go. I love how everyone's being so polite and staying in their seat until it's their turn.
If you had the choice to be any other character from The Walking Dead, who would it be?
If I had to choose another character to be, ooh, I don't know, like maybe Negan.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or no. You know, I'd be Shane. I'd be Shane. No, I'd be Shane. He's such a cool character.
See, now you've said Negan. Now my question's going to be like, who would you have hit over the head with the bat?
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel like I have all the power. Who knows, right? I mean, I don't know. I think just having all that power and crazy energy would be cool. Plus, I love JDM. He's a great guy.
Very, very cool. Anybody else? We have time for maybe two more? Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. I don't bite. Well,
I guess that might be it then.
might be it.
Listen, Matt, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm dying to pick your brain more over the years about like everything else that's going on that you're not allowed to talk about. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Matt Lintz.
Thank you, guys. This is so fun.